Me, your man, Louie T. Welcome to the Draft Prospects 101 series, your guide to some of the biggest and hottest names 2018 NFL Draft. Of course, I'm your set man, Louie T. Thank you for joining me on this program as we're taking a trip through the safety position. And this next guy, I'm so intrigued by, and he was one of the bigger names in college football since arriving on the scene at Florida State. Had an injury that pretty much canceled out his 2016 season, came back on the scene in 2017. They had a bad year at Florida State, but he still did his thing, and he's got the league buzzing about what this guy can be at his full potential as he hits his peak. What could this guy be? I think if you're talking ceiling, if Minkah Fitzpatrick is the safest, this guy has the highest ceiling of any player at the safety position in this draft. I'm talking about Florida State safety, Derwin James. Let's talk about why this guy potentially will be the first safety, first defensive back off the board come the 2018 NFL Draft, and we'll start with his pros. When you're talking Derwin James, I think the first thing that jumps off the screen at you with him is his size. This guy's big. He's 6'2", he's 215, he's got the look of an NFL safety and a guy that can just rock and roll, can play free, can play strong, come down and hit you, but also be graceful enough, athletic enough to run 40, 50 yards down the field and still make a play on the football. Speaking of which, speed 4.47 40 shows you just what kind of athlete we're dealing with here when you're talking 6'2", 215, yet running a 4.47. And again, we ask a lot of the receivers, we ask those guys to be athletes. We don't ask the safeties to be as athletic. We want them to be, but generally, how many safeties are walking around 6'2", 215, 220, running a 4.47? Not many. So this guy is an anomaly in the sense that he's a height, weight, speed specimen at the safety position. He's got a 40-inch vert, so the athleticism isn't up for debate here. There's a play, and I can't remember what exact team they were playing against. I want to say it was like Louisville or somebody. I don't think it was Louisville though. It was a team with a less athletic quarterback, but nonetheless, he tries to throw a bubble screen out to the outside, and Derwin James is blitzing off the edge. He reads it, and one thing I love about Derwin James, before I even get into any of his athletic exploits and gifts, he's such a patient defender. He plays the game under control. You rarely see him out of control. You rarely see him chasing the cheese. And what do I mean by that? If it's a bootleg, he's not chasing the quarterback going to the backside of a play and allowing the tight end or fullback or anybody to come front side and be wide open. He's not chasing the cheese, okay? He's playing his position, he's staying at home, he's disciplined, he's fundamentally sound. And so he comes off the edge, and instead of running after the quarterback like a madman, like a bat out of hell, like a banshee, he runs up the field to eat up that whole space where the throw needs to be made. Quarterback tries to fake him. He then waits for the quarterback to throw the football, then jumps, bats it into the air, and almost picks it off. Quarterback actually catches the football and then runs. But it's a beautiful example of this guy being under control, being a heady, smart football player, not chasing the cheese, and then making a play on the football and using that 40-inch vert that I just told you about. So the athleticism, the speed, the size, all of the smarts, the things that you're looking for on the football field, they're all there with Derwin James. Acceleration, guy can run. Okay, 4.47 tells you the story there, but you watch him run around the football field. There's a play, I believe they were playing against, I want to say it was NC State that they were playing against, and the running back gets a nice little run to the outside, and he's on his way to the end zone, and Derwin James catches him right around, I'd say, the 2-yard line or so, and just destroys him, knocks him out of bounds. And it's that kind of acceleration. He came from the middle of the field to the opposite hash and ran all the way, tracked him at around the 2-yard line, and this guy looked like he was going to score. It didn't look like anybody was going to be able to stop him. And Derwin James meets him at about the 2-yard line and destroys him, knocks him out of bounds. That kind of acceleration is going to allow him to excel at the next level. You see what I just did there? Maybe you did, maybe you didn't. Whatever. All right. Agility and change of direction. his agility and change of direction are next level. They're different. It's better than Minkah Fitzpatrick's. It's better than probably most of the guys in this draft at the safety position. Hell, it may be better than most corners in this draft for that matter. I mean, his ability to stick his foot in the ground and change direction is uncanny. And it's that kind of agility, it's that kind of change of direction that has me excited about what this guy can be at the next level, because at Florida State, I don't think they took full advantage of what this guy could do. They just said, look, you're an extremely gifted athlete. We'll use you in certain situations. We'll use you to spy quarterbacks like a Lamar Jackson. We'll use you to spy the quarterback at Clemson. We'll use you to spy those guys. We'll use you as a single high safety because we know you can range the field and get anywhere on the field when we need you to be there, which is up for debate. We'll talk about that a little bit later on. And we'll use you as a blitzer because we know you have the ability to get to the quarterback. But I think he can play the slot just as much as Minkah Fitzpatrick can. And I think that's something that teams are going to take advantage of at the next level. So I'm really excited to see what this guy is, when fully unleashed, what he can be at the next level. And I think that's the next step for him to play a little bit more slot. He does play the slot. Now, you do get some glimpses of him doing that at Florida State, but I don't think he played it enough for his talent skill set. So we'll see what happens. Anticipation and awareness. I talked about the awareness on the play earlier where he was able to get in the backfield, bust up the wide receiver screen and almost pick it off. He's got that kind of awareness. He sees what's going on. He's very fundamentally sound, detail oriented when it comes to those types of things. Does he take the best pursuit angles? No, he doesn't. And we'll talk about that a little bit later on. But what he does see is what's going on in front of him. What he does see is what's going on, and he's able to react to what's happening. Does he always take the best angles? Does he always react quick enough? That's up for debate. We'll talk about that a little bit later on. But again, you see a lot of the things that will translate to the next level when you talk about anticipation and awareness, those types of things. He brings it to the table. Look, locate, contest. He's an LLCer, which leads us into ball skills. He's got 3 career interceptions. And again, remember, this guy missed basically all of 2016. So you're talking about a guy that really has only played 2 seasons of college football. A touchdown is sprinkled in there on one of his picks. He's got another pick that was negated on what I thought was a poor call of pass interference. So in any event, he can make plays on the football. And I think he'll have even more opportunities to pick some passes off when he gets more opportunities to play over the slot. So I think you'll get to see a little bit more of him having those ball skills come to fruition and come into play when he gets more opportunities to make plays on the football, which he could have had more opportunities to make plays on the football deep if he reacted to some things a little bit faster, which we'll talk about a little bit later on. Tackling and willingness to tackle. I think he's a better tackler than Minkah Fitzpatrick. Now, I did see him get broken off a couple of times, all right? One comes to mind in the NC State game. They hit the receiver over the middle of the field. He catches it, breaks into the open. Derwin James, last man to beat. He gives him a shimmy, sticks his foot in the ground. Derwin James gets the okie doke, breaks him off. Dude takes off, scores a touchdown. So I have seen Derwin James broken off in the open field before. But again, this is a guy that I think they trusted as the last line of defense, and for good reason. He generally gets guys on the ground. And unlike Minkah Fitzpatrick, unlike a guy like Ronnie Harrison out of Alabama, who likes to use the shoulder, and don't get me wrong, Derwin James, he loves to lower the boom with his shoulder as well. He'll wrap up more times than not. And so I think I trust him as a tackler a little bit more so than I do a guy like Minkah Fitzpatrick or a Ronnie Harrison. Man coverage ability. I think his man coverage is outstanding. That's why I say I want to see him play it a little bit more, because I think he can do it. And I think he can do it at a high level. And I think we didn't get to see him do it as much at Florida State because they moved him around. They asked him to play a lot of single high free safety so that they could devote more guys up to the box and be a little bit more aggressive in that regard, because they knew they had a guy that was back there that could be somewhat of an eraser. So they wanted to take advantage of him from that perspective. But I'd like to see him play a little bit more man coverage, because I think he is fully capable of doing so. Thought he looked good and fluid in those situations when they asked him to do that, and he got his hands on a lot of footballs in doing that. Blitzing capabilities. This is where I think he has a chance to really excel. I think at the next level, if used correctly, I think this is where this guy has a chance to be a star, is getting to the quarterback. I think one of the things that we loved about Troy Polamalu throughout his career is just how good of a blitzer he was throughout his career. You know what we loved about Charles Woodson, what's going to end up making him a Hall of Famer as well? How good of a blitzer he was. Rondé Barber, same thing. All these guys had the ability to get to the quarterback, and it's rare to see a guy in the secondary amass 20 sacks in his career, but he's got the ability to do that. And I think if used correctly, if in the right defensive scheme, I watched this guy give a tackle about 4 jukes and then an inside move, and he would have won if the tackle didn't get away with a hold on the play. And I'm just saying to myself, that's impressive, because I watched Minkah Fitzpatrick blitz, and I'm not trying to rag on Minkah Fitzpatrick, and this isn't a situation where you're pushing one guy down to elevate another, but I watch him blitz, and his blitz is pretty much bland. You know what you're going to get. I'm either going to run by you or I'm going to try to run through you. With Derwin James, you get a little bit of that, but you also, every now and again, get a little bit of sprinkle of athleticism. I'm going to give you a little shake, a little shimmy, and I'm going to give you a little Euro step, in, out. And if you can't take that, I'm going to beat you. And I said, man, that's impressive. 5.5 career sacks. And remember, we're talking about a guy that played a full season less than Minkah Fitzpatrick, but had more sacks. So I think if given the opportunity to blitz a little bit more, I think Derwin James could be a hell of a blitzer at the next level. Field coverage and range, you saw that with the single high safety help that he was able to provide for a lot of his teammates. I think he could be even better in that aspect. Again, we'll talk about that a little bit later on, but we know this guy can go sideline to sideline. That's not up for debate. And so his ability to cover the field, his range, it's limitless. And I think that's something else that he'll be able to do really well at the next level. And we actually got to see him do at Florida State, which leads us to versatility. If Minkah Fitzpatrick is the most versatile safety in this draft, Derwin James is like 1B to Minkah Fitzpatrick's 1A. Like, he can do just about everything that you're going to ask a new modern age safety to do in this league. He can play single high. We got evidence of that on tape. He can play a half of the field. You can play your quarter half with him. You can play your cover 2 looks with him, your cover 2 shell. You can play your cover 3 with him. You can ask him to be a single high and man across the board. You want to go cover 0? He can do that too. Obviously, he can play your nickel, your dime linebacker. He can blitz off the edge. He can come down and drop over the slot. I mean, whatever you're looking for this guy, and he can play spot. He did that at college as well. So there is just a number of ways to use this guy. His versatility is ridiculous. And oh, by the way, he returned kickoffs from time to time at Florida State as well. So just about anything you want a safety to do on a football field, Derwin James can do it. And that's part of the reason why I look at this guy as the highest ceiling football player, not necessarily just at the safety position, but probably in this entire draft. But that's another discussion for another day as we get to some of Derwin James's cons and some things that he'll need to clean up at the next level. So the first con that I want to start with Derwin James is his motor. Now, I talked about Minkah Fitzpatrick and how his motor is always running high. I love that Minkah Fitzpatrick is always involved, whether it's plays going away from him and he's got to try to chase it down backside or whatever the case may be. He's always on 100. He's always on 10. All right. Not the same thing with Derwin James. You'll see him loafing on the backside of a play. You know, the play's going away from me. They got it. They don't need me. I don't like that attitude. I want you to try to get to everything. And again, I know there's something to be said about conserving energy, but you can never be too sure at the next level. Guys are such extraordinary athletes. Contact balance is different than it is in college football. You just want all your hats to the football. Coaches teach that all the time. And he's not always subscribing to that on the backside of plays. Sometimes he says, oh, they got it. They don't need me on this one. I'll get them next time. I kind of want to see him minimize that attitude when it comes to his involvement in plays from snap to snap. And then pursuit angles, that's something else I think he needs to clean up. He was able to overcome a lot of bad angles by just pure athleticism and speed. But at the next level, where guys are just as fast as you, you're gonna need to be better in your pursuit angles or you'll get beat. So I'd like to see him clean that up as well and not rely so much on his athleticism to bail him out when he takes poor angles to the football. Zone coverage ability, he's another one of these guys. And unlike Minkah Fitzpatrick, who I have a problem with when he's just trying to pattern match, with Derwin James, you got to see him play single high safety. I think it just takes him too long to identify where the quarterback's trying to go with the football. I think he's got to do a better job of reading the quarterback's eyes and letting that take him to the football. There are too many times where I feel like he's getting to the party late And with his athleticism and his size and his ball skills and his playmaking ability, I'd like to see him get to the ball a little sooner, be on time so that you can make a play on the football. I think he takes a little bit of time to process what's going on in zone coverage, and it's that split second that gets you beat at the next level. So I think he just needs to be a little bit more sure of what he's seeing. You see it, go, react, go make it happen. And so that's something I'd like to see him do a little bit better in zone coverage, especially when he's the single high safety. I need you to, if that guy's expecting help to the inside, you can't be late. You're late, it's great for the offense. They're looking for 7. So I just need him to be on time and be a little bit more proactive and less reactive when it comes to being a single high safety, especially in zone coverage. Toughness and durability, I really beat him up for this. And it's sort of fair, unfair. You see it how you want to see it, but and this is why his rating isn't as high. If you take this away, you take this out of the equation, he's probably the highest rated safety on the board for me. But I gotta include it because it's a part of Derwin James in the package that you're getting. His toughness and durability, he missed 12 games in his collegiate career. And you're talking about a guy that only was able to perform in what, about 30, let's call it 37 games. He missed 12 of them. All right, 39, something like that. So you're talking about almost a third of his college career was missed due to injury. 11 of those games came in 2016, obviously, with the torn cartilage in his left knee that pretty much saw him miss all but 2 games of his sophomore season. So he redshirted, came back, and that's why he's a redshirt sophomore going into the draft. But in any event, that's something that you got to talk about. That's something you got to consider. That's something that comes with the Derwin James package. But you take that out of the equation and you're talking about a guy that has everything you're looking for. Hopefully the injuries are behind him, and this is a guy that you're going to get day one, comes in, and he's one of the best football players on your team. He's got that kind of ability. He's got that kind of mindset. I saw him working out with Earl Thomas. I was thoroughly impressed. And if you're going to work with somebody, who better to work with at the safety position than Earl Thomas, who's probably one of the best, if not the best safety in the league right now as it stands. So I think this guy has that kind of talent, that kind of potential moving forward, and we'll see what he's able to do and where he comes off the board, because it wouldn't shock me if he came off the board before any of the corners, which I fully expect, and before Minkah Fitzpatrick. That's debatable. We'll see what happens there. But if he's the first safety, first DB taken off the board, wouldn't shock me. I wouldn't bat an eye, because his talent says that he's supposed to be one of the best in this draft class at the safety position as a defensive back. And the tape kind of lends itself to that notion moving forward. So we'll see what happens with Derwin James, but that's his breakdown here on the Draft Prospects 101 series. Remember, we're changing the game over here, period. If you want to see what Derwin James rated and where he ranks among the rest of his peers at the safety position, and just among the others in the draft that I was able to take a look at, go to the website LouieTNetwork.net for his score and all the scores of the other guys that I was able to break down. I've got more safety tape to bring at you and more guys to break down, so don't you go anywhere. Like the video, share it, and more importantly, subscribe if you haven't already done so to the Louie T Network. I'll see you next time. Have a good one.